love the Pierre coach talk. And before we dive into the Chiefs, the Panthers, and the Eagles, which is will definitely be in our discussion for today, we have to talk about the biggest news that has happened in the NFL in probably the last 4 years. Mike Tomlin has officially stepped down as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. During his coaching tenure, he's had 19 years of no losing seasons, one Super Bowl ring, multiple division titles, and one of the most consistent coaching runs in NFL history. And at only 53 years old, the man still has plenty of years left if he decides to coach because the game hasn't passed him by. But definitely choosing to step away makes everyone almost speculate and wonder, was this his decision or was this the Rooney's or was it mutual, so on and so forth. There's still time left on his contract to where if a team has real interest in Tomlin, they're going to have to send the Steelers a first rounder, and we'll see if that actually happens. He has 2 years of 2 decades of consistent coaching. And no matter what you can say about Mike Tomlin, everyone knows he does things with class. He loves his players and will put everything out there on the line for them. This is so important because what's going on with Mike Tomlin represents the NFL today. And here's what I mean. You don't need let's not be emotional when it comes to it. With 13 playoff appearances, no losing seasons, 2 conference championships, that level of production as a coach is what most organizations would hope for any higher. And at 19 years, the man has had plenty of opportunities to do a lot of winning. And the cool thing about watching Mike Tomlin in the Steelers all this time has been you knew they're going to be physical. You knew they're going to be prepared. They're going to be competitive and they're going to be resilient. He raised the floor of the Steelers every single year. You knew exactly who they're going to be, and there were definitely going to be opportunities to where they were going to win games when you did not think they were going to win. But here's where this conversation almost gets a little bit uncomfortable, but it's also important to say because someone has to tell the truth at the end of the day. Despite all that stability in Pittsburgh, he went 9 years without a playoff win. 9. And often they were one and done. And so when they lost, and here's the other thing too, when they did lose, it was uncomfortable. They lost badly. Look at what happened last night against the Texans. The Texans were clearly the better team. So it doesn't erase what Tomlin has done. It doesn't take away his wins. It doesn't change his Hall of Fame status. We know at some point when he decides to officially hang it up that he will be in the Hall of Fame. But from a coaching perspective, this is where tension naturally has to happen for a coach who has been in a place for a long time. Is it okay that we're stable or are we evolving? Is it okay that we have good leadership or are we adapting? Are we just raising the floor of what we can be or are we chasing the ceiling to try to get to the position of where we want to be at the end of the year? Mike Tomlin did not fail. He didn't. A very successful coaching tenure. But the organization clearly was at a point over the last couple of years to where being good is not good enough. The bottom for the Steelers to improve, they're going to have to make some bold moves and they're going to have to chase that ceiling, chase the championship. And that may require them to bottom out. And that may be the reason why Tomlin officially stepped down. I have no problem with Tomlin stepping down if the reason is, and he didn't want to say this, hey, they're gonna bottom out next year. And I'm going to coach to win every single game, but it's not fair to me. It's not fair to the guys in that locker room that they're going to completely bottom out. So my prediction for the Steelers right now is I expect them to start selling pieces and playing a lot of young guys, drafting with the understanding that next year will not be a very good year for the Steelers. And for Tomlin, he's going to have so many opportunities. I've already mentioned slightly about what's going to take for another team to hire him, but he has always been brought up as a guy who could do college. He's always been a guy who can do television and analyst work on ESPN, CBS, Fox, Amazon, whoever wants to hire him. Because I know for a fact that he is a man who knows his stuff, has the personality to boot, and can definitely bring it no matter what the conversation is. And for the Steelers, change is scary, but it's sometimes necessary. It's scary for organizations and it's scary for the fan bases. And yes, it's scary for coaches. We like what we like because it's safe to us. And and whenever Mike Tomlin came up in the conversation of hot seat coaches, the response was always, hey, if the Steelers let him go, he'd have another job in 48 hours. And that's true. Already, the reports are coming in that teams have reached out to the Steelers about possibly making a trade and what it'll take. And again, the price automatically is what is the first rounder. And that's just respect for who Mike Tomlin is. And and no matter what happened, Mike Tomlin's going to be fine. He's going to get paid. He's going to be in constant conversations like Bill Cowher, his predecessor, was, to where if he decides to coach again, he's going to have plenty of suitors. He may just take a year and almost reflect and jump back in, almost to how Sean Payton went to, and look how much it helped him, Sean Payton, to get just a different location and have those guys hear a different voice for the Denver Broncos. And the Saints are still recovering, but they're clearly in a good place to where they have their pieces lined up, and they have a different set of timeline than the Denver Broncos have, but they're perfectly okay with that after all those years of being in just a bad cap situation. So no matter what Tomlin does, there's going to be a team who's going to want him just for the sheer fact of they need leadership, they need structure, they just need a coach that they believe in. In the moment Mike Tomlin walks into that door, it's going to immediately bring energy and passion back into a fan base, no matter who it is. So again, I'm going to repeat myself by saying it's clearly stated it wasn't a firing. They still have his rights. He's still technically under contract with a few years left. It's not a failure at the end of the day. But this may be a moment to where both sides of this are going to benefit. If Mike Tomlin has any doubts about it, ask Andy Reid. Andy Reid was and he was just truly unjustifiably fired. And look at what happened to him in Kansas City. He's now in the GOAT conversation of coaches. And that's after 3 Super Bowls. And when sometimes they I will always take it back to the book of Job. If you've ever read the Bible and you look at the book of Job, Job had all the things a man would want in his life: family, friends, money, wealth, respect. And then the bad things started to happen. And he did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. He did what was right. But after all that, he still doesn't know why those things happened to him. But he's eventually rewarded even more due to his perseverance in trusting that God had his back and that there was a plan behind this, even though he felt as though he was unjustifiably fired. And I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin is Job, but there's a lesson to that, to where the things that happen in your life, you can definitely take a step back, and when it's hitting you and hitting you and hitting you, trust and believe that there's going to be a greater plan to this, because because of just the pure faith that you have. And even if it doesn't, even if does everything doesn't work out perfectly, you know at some point it's not for lost, that there is hope on the other side of no matter what happens. And in the NFL, Mike Tomlin stepping away is going to force every organization to ask themselves the same question. Are we building? Are we just sustaining what we have? Or are we stuck? Do we need something different? And that is what leads me to the Panthers right now. The Panthers were 8-9 and somehow made the playoffs with a little bit of help. Granted, as everyone who watches this podcast understands, I am a big Panthers fan, but I'm not talking about just a fan perspective. I'm talking as someone who watches football and understands coaching. Because yes, the Panthers wild card loss hurt. It hurt me dearly. But this team competed. There were things throughout this game that I was so proud of. And they didn't fold, they didn't shrink, and they continued to fight back. That's why they're saying of keep pounding is so important, because sometimes when you're just chiseling away, the rock breaks. The rock did not break this time, but it's going to continue, but it will break in the future. That I know. And I'm not talking about moral victories, because here's some of the evidence. Here are the things I saw. Number one, Bryce Young, quarterback at 5'10". The Panthers did one of the best things, was just to pick up his fifth option, to have a secure in their play caller for the future, signal caller for for their quarterback for the future. Because, and even though he's not perfect, but he looked so poised in that playoff game, made a ton of plays. He looked confident. He was flustered at first after throwing the interception, but then he stood in the pocket and extended plays, and he delivered in those big moments. The touchdown to Jalen Coker was a thing of beauty. And it's just showing his evolution as a player. That's NFL quarterbacking. And here's where as a fan myself, I almost have to show patience, because he's not a finished product. Where Bryce Young is right now isn't where he's going to be in 2 to 3 years. He is still a young player. So I don't need to panic. You don't need to panic. I don't know. I don't need to overreact. I don't need to overreact. Neither do you. We just need to have the understanding that they're going to continue to build on what they're doing well. The other part of the offense, as I've mentioned, was from Bryce Young to Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker had the opportunity to start as the number 2 receiver, and he balled out. For a guy who was undrafted in the NFL to now being the number 2 starter and playing big time minutes and making big time plays against a really good Rams defense, as I said before, was really impressive. McMillan, my goodness, he is what I hoped we had gotten when we had drafted him this year. And the fact that not only has he had 1,000 yards, but he's done and he's continued to get better every single week. And that's what you want. That's coaching. You can always coach it. You can tell a guy what to do, but can you coach him how to do it? Good coaches understand what their player is and isn't, and are able to at least get something out of him. And not only has he gotten something out of him in every single game, Dave Canales is now leaning on him as the true number 1. Chuba Hubbard was injured at first, injured through in middle of the season, and Rico Dow took over. But both those backs have done a good job of working together, and Chuba ran hard, especially with a more creative run game. And that's what I've been wanting from Dave Canales all season long. And he saved it for the playoffs. There was a couple big runs to where they faked one way or added an extra blocker to block backside to give Chuba more of a cutback. Rico Dow didn't play particularly well, but he still ran hard. And I fully expect him to get a good sized contract from some team, because he does not have a lot of tread on the tires, and we're already committed to Chuba. So I hope that wherever he goes, he delivers big for that organization, as long as it's not in the South. And the other thing that I saw was, no matter what happened throughout the game, everyone looked in it. They were frustrated, definitely on the offense. They were definitely frustrated, and it was sucked to lose Icky during the game. But our backup left tackle definitely played well. So the offense is growing, and that's what you want. You just want to see growth on your offense. Defensively, Avero's unit has really shown some growth. There's already been some talk about him getting fired and stuff like that by the Panthers, and I think that'd be foolish. They've gone from the worst defense to the middle of the pack defense. That is true growth. They are not a bad defense. We're top 10 in takeaways. Like, there's real growth, there's real pieces. And the final drive sucked, but what exactly are you wanting him to do when he doesn't have his number one corner and there's no pass rush? You have to almost play catch and hope that they make a mistake. And Matthew Stafford, with the game on the line, with Sean McVay, with two legit receivers, two legit tight ends, and two legit running backs, that he's not going to make a mistake in that situation. He's just not. He's too dang good. So I don't blame him for that. The um although the coaching staff did not win the game, they showed some adaptability, creativity, and growth. And as a fan who wants them to win the Super Bowl eventually in my lifetime, that's where I want them to be. Next year is going to be this upcoming off season is going to be so important, because it's going to be about what pieces do we add. Are we truly a contender? There's going to be a little bit of buzz. The schedule's going to get a little tougher. So I'm excited. It feels like we're definitely building in the right direction, which is what you want. Like, at the end of the day, if you're a bottom feeder to a team that wins the Super Bowl, you just want to see your team get better every single year. You understand it may not, but especially if you're a bad team. And last year, 2 years ago, we were bad. This year, we're okay. We're okay enough to compete. Now let's get over the hump. And here's and when you're in the direction, like I said, you can go from building to sustaining. And this is what brings me to the Chiefs right here, where this is the Chiefs, at the end of the day, like it or not, with Patrick Mahomes a year away from going to their third straight Super Bowl, they are a team that just needs something to sustain their success. They were not in the playoffs this year due to a multitude of reasons. But now Kansas City doesn't need to look as a rebuild. They're just recalibrating. They have to get some things right. And I'm going to start with their offense. Their offense looks stale this year. Chiefs fans will tell you, I've written about it. Their offense looked stale, flat, predictable. It did not look like it put any pressure on anybody's defense. And that's the problem. When you have that great of a quarterback and those talented pieces, you have to ask yourself, what happened? And I'm going to start with coaching. I'm going to be real with you. No offense to Matt Nagy, really. But at the end of the day, for a guy who is tasked with some of the day-to-day stuff, that's on him for not cleaning it up and getting those guys prepared. Andy Reid also takes some accountability for it, for not addressing it sooner. But by all reports, it looks like Matt Nagy will be leaving either through a head coaching position or just be stepping down and going somewhere else. So I have a couple options for the OC for next year for Kansas City that I kind of want to run through and just present my pros and cons for each person. Going from 5 to 1. Number 5, I'm going to go with Mike Kafka. All right, Kafka's, I feel like, is a safe pick. He knows the building. He knows Mahomes. He was the former quarterback coach, and he knows Andy Reid's system. He knows exactly what is expected of him, his responsibility as the OC, instead of just being the quarterback's coach. But the problem is, he was not only the OC in New York, he was also the interim head coach. And at no point did anyone think, oh yeah, he should definitely get the job. He showed some inconsistency with some play calling. His conservative leaning play calling also hurt the Giants as well. Now, some of that could have been in response to Jackson Dart being too wild and dangerous, which I will give him some credit for, trying to reel him in and make sure that, hey, dude, I need you to play football healthy. You cannot constantly be going to that blue tent. But it does, but no matter what the reasons were, it still was conservative. So should Kansas City, who just had an issue with their play calling, go with a guy who had issues with his play calling? He's a solid coach, but I just feel like he's not going to transform the building. My number 4 pick is Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury has known Patrick Mahomes ever since he was in high school. Obviously recruited him, got him to Texas Tech, and was his college coach. But the creativity is so important. Like it or not, with Cliff Kingsbury, there are a lot of positive when it comes to him as a coach. But here's the biggest negative that I can see. Throughout his coaching career, and granted, this is him as a head coach, he has struggled to finish seasons in multiple stops. I'm talking Texas Tech, Arizona, and even Washington. His offenses have consistently started hot, firing, ready to go, but then fatally go down as the season's gone along, almost as if he wows everybody September, October, early November, and then defenses start to catch up in late November, December, and January, and the record shows. Here's what I mean statistically, and I had to look this up, and it's true. His teams in the first half of the season are 68%. 68%. That's amazing. That is amazing. But in the second half of the season, it drops to 27%. That's crazy. Like it shows that he's so innovative and he understands who his guys are, but he's clearly not adjusting as the season goes on. His most glaring one was back in 21, where the Cardinals started 7-0 and they collapsed to abysmal record. And with that offense that he has, I think he can definitely bring in some leadership, some comfortability for Mahomes as a former head coach. But what I think this organization needs is more creativity. They need structure and they need accountability, which is the confusing thing. Why, when you look at my list, you would go, why are you putting Mike McDaniel number 3? And the reason why is he is, again, Mike McDaniel at number 3 is one of the more creative minds in football. And under Andy Reid's structure, he will thrive. His offense is a timing offense. It's going to require guys to be a lot more accountable to keep it efficient. He is all about efficiency and finding ways to run the football creatively, which is what the Chiefs need. They need the ability to run the football well. They need the willingness to run the football consistently. Mahomes will be coming off an ACL tear. He will not be 100% until the following year. So for 2026, if Mahomes makes it to game 1 or game 10, whenever the timetable is, they're going to need to be able to allow him to recover and allow him to not carry the offense like he has been the last couple of years. But the concern for McDaniel is his discipline and consistency. And I think what can really help Mike McDaniel is seeing how does Andy Reid, a guy who's not a yeller like Nick Saban, a guy who doesn't get on. I mean, he will get on guys, but he's not a Bill Parcells, just yell, scream, curse kind of guy. He's clearly a guy who loves his players, but his players respect him. So he can almost see and be coached and taught under another great play caller who players love and respect, and even somewhat develop the fear that is needed so that when he becomes a head coach again, he can bring those lessons to whatever job he decides to do. Mike McDaniel will be a head coach again. He's too young, too talented, and has a lot more coaching to do to not get that opportunity. And I think Kansas City's environment will be perfect for him and allow him to almost thrive without the pressure of being the head man, which is what I think happened in Miami. My number 2 pick, Eric Bieniemy. I just feel like this is a guy who right now coaching for the Bears on their coaching staff is doing an excellent job with their running backs. And he's just the running backs coach. He's not even the offensive coordinator. And I think he's too talented, too much of a dog in him to not have that position again. And I think bringing him back to Kansas City, Clark Hunt just needs to write a check and go, hey, we want you back. Andy, please bring this man back. Please. Because the biggest thing Andy Reid, not what Eric Bieniemy brought was his knowledge of the offense and his demanding of accountability. He was able to make other guys accountable for when they drop passes, for when they missed routes, for when Mahomes missed time to throw. Like, there's sometimes on a coaching staff, you need a guy who's going to bark at players. Not everybody needs to do it because then players just get wear down by that. They don't want to be coached like that all the time. But 1 or 2 guys on your staff has to be a guy who barks. And one of them has to be a coordinator. Typically, it's your DC. It's typically your DC out of the big 3, your head coach, OC, and DC. Typically, it's your DC. Defense naturally, as I know, defense naturally is the more emotional position group. But when this is your OC, it spices things up. Definitely. Your offense, I promise you, they're like, golly, we got to do this again. And no matter what anyone can say, Bieniemy brought that. He was so good at that it feels like it's almost inevitable that they at least attempt to bring him in. The problem with him is it almost feels like a retread hire, like been there, done that. We've already brought in Bieniemy. And this is my personal pick. This is who I would love to get. And the other problem is some fans may feel like, hey, he's only good under the right circumstances. He doesn't elevate guys. He just almost just goes with the flow. So if bad organization, he just doesn't elevate them. And that's a fair point. He went to UCLA, he went to Washington, and they had some moments during those seasons, but it was never it wasn't transformative. And the Bears offense right now obviously runs through Ben Johnson's, like, credit to Ben Johnson and what he does. But that's not fair either. Bieniemy clearly has his footprints on their success. Lastly, my number 1 pick is Brian Daboll. I think he's the perfect guy to come to Kansas City. Daboll, known as a small, fiery guy who wants to win and demands excellence, not to mention he wants to be a head coach. Daboll challenges his players. He demands excellence. There's going to be a natural friction between he and some of the coaches because of who he is. He is an experienced head coach. I think the other thing that some people seem to forget is he's a different personality type than Andy Reid as well. And I think that's sometimes the other thing too. Not everybody can be the same. Not everybody on a staff can be the same. And I want so desperately for the Chiefs to recognize that and see if, hey, or you want to come in and fix this offense. Because I promise you this, if Daboll goes and comes to Kansas City and fixes that offense, immediately he's getting a head coaching job. Because everyone's going to be like, oh man, we can't have this guy back. We can't have this guy back in their building. They're going to keep winning. His track record alone speaks for itself. He was Buffalo's offensive coordinator and helped Josh Allen turn it around. Um, Obviously, before he was fired, Jackson Dart was going until he got hurt again, and that's why. And at the end of the day, that's why Brian Daboll is my number one selection. So, oh man, today's last topic is the Eagles. Eagles just lost to the Niners in a game they should not have lost. Eagles were the better team. They were the more healthy team, and they were the more experienced team in terms of their players. And I feel like it's this game of the Eagles exactly was the most eagerly game I've ever seen, and it's an attack on their culture because I don't like Nick Sirianni. I don't. But what exactly is their culture? Like, explain this to me because you almost go like, okay, are they a running football team? But then they'll have spurts to where they just throw on every down. But then they can't lean on Saquon too hard because then that wears him down. Their offensive line isn't the same. So then what's their adapted? Well, Jalen Hurts save us. Okay. And no offense to Jalen Hurts, but I don't think he's a top five guy. Like, ask yourself, if one of the top five quarterbacks in the league had that offense and those weapons, would you not you would expect them to lose two games in the year. And that's only when on that last game they sit them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Hurts is fine. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He's done so many good things in this league, but he is not the echelon. He's not part of the top of the top in terms of quarterback play. So that's up to Sirianni to find a system that fits his team and his quarterback. Like, there's a reason why this concept gets brought up about should Sirianni keep his job or lose his job. Like, I feel like Sirianni is the poor man's John Harbaugh. Like, he doesn't call plays on either side of the football, so he's supposed to be a culture guy. But some of the culture stuff that he brings up, they're almost cringe. Like, I'm gonna start off with him shaving his head. Like, it clearly looked like a sign for help. I mean, it worked. They won the Super Bowl, but it was just off putting. Like, is he a motivator? I don't think so. AJ Brown doesn't think so. Like, is he a tone setter? Not really, because he's more coordinator dependent. Like, ask yourself this: why is the defense good? Because Vic Fangio's their defensive coordinator. Exactly. The offense. Well, he's an offensive guy, so he must be pretty good, right? I mean, it's okay, but it's mainly held up by a lot of simple run schemes, and he invented the tush push. All right, good for him. He invented something in football, but the offense isn't where it should be with all that money and all that talent. So you would think as an offensive guy, he would address it. And he's talked about it. He's apparently been in the meeting and they still haven't fixed it. And uh, their OC was just fired, let go. So then now the Eagles are expected to bring another great OC into the organization for the offensive coach. Like, that's like saying, and I know that's kind of, I know I had just said something about Andy Reid needing to bring in an OC, but it's still Andy Reid's system. It's still all the years that Andy Reid has done. Andy Reid is almost 70 years old. He does not need to do the day-to-day things due to his age. And that's a conversation for another day about if Andy Reid should still be coaching the Chiefs. But he, Nick Sirianni's not an old man. He can clearly still be active and do some of the day-to-day stuff. The OC should almost be his assistant to where he's developing plays and Nick Sirianni is either calling them or allowing him to call them. But he needs to be oversighting the offense anyway. So what exactly, if he's not addressing the defense, if he's not addressing the offense, and his culture isn't that great, then what are they doing? Like, I'll go back to the positivity rabbit. Like, ha ha ha, that was a it must have been a gag or a prank, because that did not work at all. That turned off a lot of guys, even former Eagles players. Like um the Kelsey brother. Oh my goodness. Not Travis, but Jason. Jason even said, yeah, they gotta get that thing out of there. Like, come on. Like, who was that for? Like, when players are frustrated and the pressure's building and accountability feels inconsistent, you then have to be a head coach. That's when coaching comes in. And I'm looking at Nick Sirianni and I'm going, okay, why are you so coordinator dependent? Like, when you're good, coaches read the room. Great coaches adjust their approach. And it feels like everything is just reactionary. Oh, the offense is good. I'm going to fire my OC. Okay, so then now, but what are you doing as the coach to fix it? Because it's your offense. You're the coach, right? It's not his offense. If you're running his offense, maybe he should be the head coach. So, as a head coach, fix it. Fix it. I feel like right now the Eagles are stuck between vibes and discipline, and it's not sustainable. In my personal opinion, if the leadership in that organization feels as though, well, we need to get a new OC to kind of fix our offense, for our offensive coach, then you should probably get a new coach. This isn't a defensive issue. Defense played great. The Eagles' main issue is their offense. So fix the offense. One of my college coaches, my head coach from college would always say, Keith Dowling would always say, you change the player or you change the player. And at first you go, what? You just said the same thing. Either you change as a player or you will be changed as a player. You change the player or change the player. As soon as you get that, you go, I'm replaceable. And it hit. And to coach's credit, it's something that I still say occasionally in my head, like, hey, well, this guy isn't stepping up. I need to change him. I need to fix him. Or, hey, he's not stepping up. I've given him playing opportunities. I got to get somebody who can do that thing. And the Eagles, as a professional organization who has won a Super Bowl, this has to be fixed. This has to be fixed. Like, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. Kind of a quick rundown of different teams. That's my plan. Obviously, that the Panthers season's over, I won't focus so much on the Panthers. I still will. Um, they are they're definitely going to be making some moves, but it's going to be definitely follow us throughout the podcast. I do want to say though that I am excited about where this podcast is going. We have over 180 subscribers. We are growing every day, and it's so appreciative of that. I am just a coach doing this as a guy who loves the game, loves his team, and people are responding on. The episode with my friend Steven is it's going to hit 100 views, and that's amazing to see. So shout out to people coming and watching. Please, please, please like and subscribe if you're seeing if you like what you're seeing, and if you're not, then this is where coaching comes in. If you feel as though there's something I can be doing better, if you feel as though there's anything I'm missing, let me know, because I want to get better at this for you guys, for anyone who's watching, because that's the point of this. I would love, my goal at the end of this year is to get over 1,000 subscribers, and that's a lot. But that requires people to come in and see what I got and either like it, comment, share it, or comment, hey, fix this, and I'll be a subscriber. And I know it's weird to say, but as like the name of the show is Pierre's Coach Talk. Talk to me like a coach. I'm talking to you like a coach. I'm talking to you like you're a player who's looking for information on how to get better or how to improve your knowledge in the game of football. There'll be moments where I'm a fan, But a lot of times I'm a coach and I'm trying to address coaching issues or things I see as a coach. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stayed through. I hope you like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, do what you have to do, and peace. See ya.